In news that makes you realize just how much of an asshole big companies can be, Take-Two made some particularly aggressive corporate plays here in over the last several months in regards to Kerbal Space Program 2. You've probably heard of Kerbal Space Program, the first game. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So the second one was in development underneath Take-Two by a company called Star Theory Games. Small developer, just not a very big developer doing this contract, and it was their one major contract that they had that was like into last year sometime, late last year. And out of the blue, Take-Two sends an email through LinkedIn to a bunch of Star Theory's employees. It's the same email pretty much to everyone. And the email basically stated, well, they said this is a quote actually from it, a partial quote where it says, and there's no real context that before where this is going to sound weird. This is in regards to canceling the contract for the game. So they just out of the blue said, you don't have this contract anymore. It said it became necessary when we felt business circumstances might compromise the development, execution, and integrity of the game. And that was as detailed as they got behind their reasoning. Just some kind of vague, open-ended business speak. And so they pulled the contract. And for a company the size of Star Theory and many developers, honestly, that aren't mega developers, when you get a contract pulled like that mid-go, that's a massive financial hit for the company. And so they struggled through it. They managed to keep their head above water. But the interesting thing is that as soon as they did that and they sent that email, at the bottom of the email, they said they were encouraging the employees to sign up for a job at Take-Two. And Take-Two created another branch underneath them, like a dev underneath of them, I can't remember the name of them now, that was taking over the game development for Kerbal Space Program 2. And then they were poaching employees from Star Theory that they just pulled the contract from to feed this new developer under their own brand as it was at the same time. And so there were a bunch of like employees internally going, I don't know what to do here because my job security at Star Theory has basically been almost destroyed. You know, the heads of Star Theory are doing their best to get the money together to keep this thing going and grab another project for the company to continue on. Intercept, that's it. And so they, so some of them left, and they successfully poached a not insignificant number of employees from Star Theory. And then Star Theory kept going. They survived that financial hit, secured another project that they started working on, but then COVID hit, and all of the trade shows that they were going to be showing the game off at for selling to publishers obviously went away.
Yep.
And so they couldn't sell it to anyone. So they had to literally shut the company down. They paid the remaining employees 2 months worth of insurance for health insurance, I think 1 month of salary, something in that neighborhood, which is what they could afford to do. And then the company had to shut down. So basically Take-Two outright decides, you know what? We could probably, if we just do this cheaper, we just did it in-house. So pull that contract, fuck that company, poach the employees, and walk away as if nothing happened and just make the game.
Yikes, dog.
That's a dick move, bro. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's one thing to pull the contract for whatever reason. It's another one to then put at the bottom of the email, hey, you're probably fucked for work. You've been working on this game anyway. Why don't you just continue to work on it under us?
That's fucked up.
Yeah. That's super fucked. My guess is they might have been in some trouble from the Rona, from the space AIDS.
Oh, this was pulled way before space AIDS was a thing. This was like back in like September, October, November, like back then.
My theory is gone. They're just greedy cocksuckers then, by the sounds of it.
That's it.
They just fucked over a lot of people. Why would you give the They must have had a good reason to back out of the contract, though.
The reason was money.
But I mean, you would think that there's a clause in the contract where they just can't back out. So maybe there was some sort of thing that a loophole that they found that they didn't agree with. And then they had the ability to leave. Because when you sign a contract like that, you can't just come in and say, hey, we're gone. Because, they could pull it, but they're still going to have to pay for that contract work if they agreed to it, unless the other side had done something.
Well, they would have paid the contract work for up to like where they were.
Yeah.
Right.
But they would still have to finish paying for the like if you have a contract with the company and you're saying, hey, I'm contracting you out to do this work, then you are it's no different than building a building. And you have a contractor, you have a builder. The builder goes, okay, listen, I'm going to go to different contractors and I'm going to see there's going to be a bid, and whoever bids is going to get the contract. So there's a bidding that happens. You agree that, hey, you're going to finish this work. Typically, money is dispersed in increments, in chunks, as work is being done. So you do the framing. Here's the money for the framing. An inspector goes in, inspects the work. They get a check mark off that. Okay, now it's time to do the windows or whatever. Okay, here's the money for all the windows. They go up. The inspector goes. They look at it. Okay, now we're going to do the plumbing, the electrical, whatever. It would be the same thing here, but within that big deal, that contract deal, there'll be clauses that'll say, hey, if this type of work is not being done at a specific level, or it fails to meet safety, or in this case, it might be fail to meet the quality standard, or if a company says something outlandish or does something within the company and it's tied to the person that is giving out the contract that could give them a bad name, then we can walk away from the contract if we feel as though there is a breach of contract. What I'm trying to say is, in their line here, it says, it became necessary when we felt business circumstances might compromise the development, execution, and integrity of the game. So there might have been a clause within the contract that if the person under this Take-Two, whether it's management, whether it is the owner, the company itself, maybe there was something behind the scenes that was happening. Maybe, who knows? But there would be a clause that they could cut sever ties.
Yeah, there's
and
always.
Say, listen,
Take-Two is one of the biggest publishers on earth, right? Take-Two is Grand Theft Auto and all that shit, right?
Yes,
so
it's a big one.
So the way that I would see it, another part of the story here, and the chat is right, is that at one point the studio was trying to sell. The owners of the studio were trying to sell the studio to Take-Two, I believe. They didn't like the terms of the sell, and so they didn't take it, and then this precipitated from that. So Take-Two then looked at it and said, all right, they're not going to let us buy them for this. So how can we still, because obviously Take-Two wanted creative control. The only way for them to get creative control, because the contract is to buy out the company. Mm-hmm. They provide the company goes to them, Take-Two, and says, this is what we want for the buyout. Take-Two says, I don't really like that. Nobody moves on it. And so Take-Two is now legally bound with that contract to keep going, like you were saying. So how do we do that? Well, there's always loopholes in contracts, especially if it's written by somebody with a dick the size of Take-Two. And one of those, just like when wrongful firing of an employee, an employer can come up with any fucking the language like that, and that's what I meant by the fucking business speak. The language here is so fucking broad and vague. There's no specificity that they can just say that, and as long as that language matches whatever the fuck is in the contract,
then they're good.
Then they're good to go, and then
they can break contract because theoretically the other side broke contract. So I don't know if this other company, which one is it? The Star Theory?
Star Theory is the company,
I don't know if Star Theory did something to Take-Two, or there's heads butting and they didn't like the way the direction and they felt as though, hey, this is going to hurt. We're going to lose money or what? I don't know. But the dirty part is at the bottom. That's the dirty part. So even if there was something that they had that they felt they break the contract and end it with Star Theory, to then put at the bottom that, hey, come work for us. And probably what they're thinking is, hey, well, they're already working on the game. They're already familiar with the game. They're going to need a job, and we could look like the good guys as well by providing them work.
Yep.
Let's just go ahead and poach them. And I guarantee you a bunch of them probably went over and was like, yeah, I will absolutely do that. Not only that, you're now moving over to Take-Two. So you're leaving a small development company to go over to the big boys. So that's also appealing in a lot of ways to a lot of employees, right? I mean, to some it might not be, because you're just part of a fucking, you're a number now.
If you talk to people in the video game industry, most people that are in that position, they're all going to tell you that they're just a cog in a fucking wheel. Doesn't matter who they're working for. You're a cog in a wheel. The people that tend to want to that really step away from big companies are people like the owners of Star Theory, who want to be able to have control over their property and not have to constantly bow down to whatever the bigger publisher is telling them to do, because it normally results in a game that is not representative of what their original vision was for the game. But yeah, it's a mess for sure. Dirty. And dirty. And if there was ever to be, it would be super. I don't know the legality of it enough, but the fact that they have that in the same message that they were telling them about the contract being pulled tells you that, if anything, they only had a problem with upper management at Theory and not the people that they were, because they're trying to poach the employees of the company that they're now pulling the game away from. So they couldn't have had a problem with how the game was really turning out. Yeah. Because then they wouldn't be poaching fucking employees. So it really goes to show that it seems like the majority reason for why it happened was because they didn't like the fact that they couldn't give Star Theory a deal that they would sell themselves to them for. And so this was their solution to not being able to buy them outright as it was. This was their workaround. Well, you don't want to? Well, we're going to find a nice little loophole here. We're going to pull this contract. We're going to start up a nice little subsidiary inside of Take-Two. We're going to then say to your employees, who are now probably looking for a job because you guys don't have any money left, hey, you want to come over here and continue working on the game that you've already been working on? We can do that.
Hey, do you want to eat?
You're not going to be making as much money as you were at Star Theory, but we'll pay you. It's dirty work, to say the least.